Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents off for always favoring my adopted sister over me? Original post. When I was 27, my parents, 51 and 49, adopted my newborn sister. She is deaf and learned to read lips incredibly well. She also got better grades and had more friends than me as a child. I had a few, while she was very social despite her disabilities, and my parents always called her the best gift they could have asked for. They favored her and gave her everything she asked for. They both made a lot of money and sent her to a very nice private school, while I went to a weekly funded public school 2 blocks from my house. When I was 11, I was made fun of and bullied by a kid in my class, and my father told me to toughen up. I went to a teacher later, who filed a report to the principal who didn't do much, and my father called me weak for going to my teacher about a bully. The birthday parties for me weren't really parties, just where I asked them to make my favorite dinner, and they reluctantly agreed. My sister received massive parties, where my parents typically got her around 10 expensive gifts on top of everything else. They funded her college education in full, while they told me to make do with the tiny bits of money they gave me for chores that I had been saving. More recently, they have asked me straight to my face why I wasn't as intelligent, social, and successful as my sister. Mind you, I make $20,000 more than her with no degree. Recently, she got engaged to a guy I'm currently good friends with, and even learned sign language for my sister early in their relationship. They held a dinner party where they openly talked about how they wished they had another golden child like my sister. They then asked me why I couldn't be like her. I got up and asked to talk to them outside. I told them that they were neglectful a-holes who never cared about me and that they were bad parents. I then argued with them further, and they said they were simply trying to make her feel better about her disability. By the end of the argument, they admitted they never wanted a son and always wanted a child that would impress people and make them look good. I left angrily and told my best friend about it, who said that it was good that I stood up to them. However, the rest of my family, excluding my sister, believed that I was an ungrateful, whiny bitch who never appreciated what I had. Of course, this is after years of my parents telling them lies, and after they told them a twisted version of the conversation. Am I the a-hole for losing it at my parents for treating my sister much better than me for years and thinking of me as less than her? Now for the top comments before reading the update. This entire thing is a harrowing read, but this line absolutely floored me. By the end of the argument, they admitted they never wanted a son and always wanted a child that would impress people and who would make them look good. Holy crap. Screw your parents, dude. You deserved so much better growing up. And I'm so sorry you ended up with 2 absolute devils who have their heads wedged so far up their own behinds. You are absolutely, unequivocally not the a-hole. I told my sister what they have said. She seems to believe me and says that she is definitely going to talk to my parents about what they said. She also apologized for being so ignorant to the neglect that I faced. Even if most of my family hates me, I still have one person who believes me, which makes me feel better. That's great to hear, dude. And if it means anything, I believe you as well. I have friends who grew up with parents like this, so I know it can mess you up. I'm glad you stood up for yourself and that your sister seems to understand. I believe you too. As a mother to 2 beautiful kids, one of each, male and female, I am completely disgusted by your parents. You sound like an amazing, intelligent, compassionate, warm, loving young man. Shame on your parents for failing at everything as far as you're concerned, but mostly for not being super proud of the well-rounded man you've become despite their complete lack of parenting. I'm beyond proud of you and hope the rest of your days more than make up for the happiness and love you missed out on growing up. Not the a-hole. Your parents' answers were narcissistic. The reason to have children is not so they will make you look good. You deserved better than this. It sounds like nothing you do would be good enough for them. Thanks. I've been trying to tell some family members the truth, but because they have known my parents longer, they trust their story more. Only a couple believe that both of us are wrong instead of me being in the wrong. Ask them for evidence that you're wrong. Tell them you'll eat your words if they can produce a single photo or video from a birthday party they had for you. a single receipt for something nice they bought you, a single bank transfer for tuition. Ask them why you never went to private schools. Good idea. I'll send a group email to all of them tomorrow. I'm going to sleep now. Now for the update. I followed the advice of some people in the comments and sent an email to my relatives. I told them they didn't have any proof that I was ungrateful and unappreciative for what I had, except for my parents' word, which wasn't much. I also asked why they never came to a single one of my birthday parties, why I went to a much worse school, and why I spent so much time in my room when they came to visit, something I really didn't mention in my first post. My parents wanted me upstairs in my room for about 75% of all visits, because they said they were embarrassed by me. I also had my sister vouch for me, saying they only wanted a golden child. About half of them believe me now. Some still can't decide who's in the right. And some are saying that it's reasonable to want a perfect child, and that kids are nuisances, and that my parents were 100% in the right. I also determined that my sister had to know something was off. I told her that it would be a bit before I trusted her 100% again. She agreed, seemed surprised when I said it though. I've looked into therapy, and my first appointment is in 2 weeks. Currently, I still have an urge to call my parents, but there's something else I'm contemplating. One of my close friends even told me that I should sue my parents, and that his wife's brother worked for a really good firm and could help me hire them. I don't really think the neglect was that serious for a lawsuit, however. I also wanted to say thank you to all the people who reassured me I wasn't in the wrong and also gave me advice. Have a nice day to anybody reading this. Some are saying that it's reasonable to want a perfect child and that kids are nuisances and that my parents were 100% in the right. Then don't have kids if they are nuisance. OP, you're not the a-hole here in any way. Your sister has your back. Go low to no contact with your parents if you can. And who wants a perfect child anyway? Nobody's perfect. If you think someone is, then you're probably blind or ignorant to their faults. I had a baby last year, and so many people act like normal baby stuff is bad behavior. Like, dude, she's growing mouth bones. I would be in a bad mood too. OP, I would totally go no contact with them. They admitted that they never actually wanted you, so give them what they want. You are no longer their child. They will never hear from you again. I totally agree with this response. They are awful parents, just awful. How can you do that to a child? Go no contact. You do not owe them anything. When in their old age they come to you to be looked after, say no. Just tell them you adopted new parents. It worked out so well for your sister. Maybe it's time you found someone to love you too. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents they became liars the second they started fostering their adopted daughter? My parents started fostering when I, 19 female, was 6. My younger brother was 3 at the time. I never had a problem with it. It was normal, and I got along with a lot of the foster siblings who came to live with us. This then changed with Amy. I met Amy in 2nd grade. She was new to my class, and we just did not get along. I remember other kids saying she was mad at me, and I had no idea why. We only knew each other for a few days at that point. I remember thinking if she was mad at me for nothing, then I was mad at her. So we clashed a lot. Then in 3rd grade, she started bullying me. She'd throw my lunch on the floor and step on it. She'd make up lies about me farting to get other kids to make fun of me. And she told the teachers she wouldn't sit or work with Freaky Eye. I have a scar across my left eye. She'd also say I was evil like Scar from The Lion King. The scar gave her plenty of ammunition, and eventually, I became very self-conscious about it. My parents knew about the bullying, and they were called in to speak to teachers and the principal. Turns out Amy was a foster kid. Guess who decided to take her in? My parents. We were 10. My parents decided to adopt her. They were asked how I felt about it by a lot of people. They lied and said I was good with it and excited to help Amy and get along with her better. It was a lie. I screamed the house down when I found out and begged my parents not to. My brother didn't like Amy either. She had used him against me so many times at school, and he knew about it. My parents blamed me for my brother and Amy not getting closer. When I was 15, we had a really big fight. My parents told me Amy was as much my sibling as my brother was, and they weren't happy that I didn't acknowledge her as such. I told them I never would, that they could adopt her 100 times, and I still wouldn't call her my sister. I told them they chose helping her over protecting me. I told them I wished she had stayed in foster care forever, and that nobody had ever loved her because she was a bully and I was tired of being her target. I told them she had won though. She had them, and I would never see them the same way again. A year later, Amy and I got into a fight, and I was allowed to go and live with my grandparents. My parents tried to keep in touch with me, but I made no effort. Eventually, I started telling people my parents had lied about me wanting them to foster and adopt Amy. People treat my parents differently as a result, and they confronted me about this 3 weeks ago. They showed up at my grandparents and said we needed to talk. They mentioned me calling them liars, and I said they were, and that they became liars the second they started fostering Amy. My parents told me I had such a selfish outlook on the situation. I told them they chose Amy, so I didn't owe them or her a selfless outlook. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your parents did you a grave disservice when they chose to adopt Amy over your protests and then lied about it to cover up the fact that you hadn't wanted her in your family because she bullied you. That just stinks. Your outlook on this isn't selfish, it's self-defense. The only thing you owe is to yourself, to make yourself a life you will enjoy and thrive in. I'm glad you got out of the situation as soon as you could. You don't owe your parents anything, including your own lies to make them look better for having lied themselves. Yeah, to bring in somebody that mean to your daughter is not an act of a sound mind. They made her house hostile knowingly, and then had the audacity to act mad when OP left and told the truth. Not the a-hole at all. I think the parents must have some sort of savior complex. Why else would anyone bring your child's bully into your home? Not the a-hole. Your parents are narcissists who prioritize the feel-good emotions and social currency they get from fostering over the feelings of their own children. I can't believe how damaging it must have been to have your tormentor taken into your safe space. What they did is unforgivable. They allowed you and your brother to be bullied in your own home and safe space. They also took a vulnerable foster kid into a home with a kid she, for whatever reason, had problems with, which can't have been healthy for her either. It's crappy from every angle. You should check out the Raised by Narcissist sub. I just don't understand it though. The parents had apparently been fostering for several years before Amy, and OP doesn't say that she had any problems with it. To then decide to foster and then adopt OP's tormentor and bully seems downright malicious, when they could have continued to happily foster any of the many other kids in need of foster families. When you're more obsessed with looking good than doing good, this makes sense. It looks good when you adopt and reform your daughter's bully because you recognize that she was acting out because she needs a family. And the whole bullies to friends trope garners a lot of positive attention, especially now since it's bullies to sisters. They expected OP to be a doormat and play along. Last story. Am I the a-hole for demanding my parents not include my adopted siblings when we go out to dinner for my birthday? 5 years ago, my 15 male parents adopted 2 of my siblings. I'll call them Cassandra, 17 female, and Layla, 15 female. 2 years ago, Luke, 2 male, their biological younger brother, absolute light of my life, best boy, was born and surrendered, so he was placed with us too. Since they were adopted as preteens, a major priority for my parents was bonding with them 2-on-3. And they go to a lot of bonding things. They're constantly bouncing between adoption therapy, family therapy, and every single bonding thing they can find. Which feels weird because I'm also part of the family. I'm only included once in a while, usually to be told I need to be less of a show-off. They also take them out after individual therapy, which I 100% support, and would never admit to being jealous of IRL, but God, I'm jealous of it. I know it's not the same, but I had 6 bouts fencing over the summer, and it was a miracle that they attended to. Which did not include the last fight or the family day. At least come for the catharsis of seeing me get whacked with a sword. Sometimes, circumstances demand that I'm there, and I moved my schedule to make this happen more often. At first, they let me hang to the side, but then they asked that I step back so I'm not engaging with whatever it is they're doing with my sisters, because the bonding activities are supposed to be for them. Last night, I told my parents that I wanted them to do things with me, alone, that they were wildly favoring my siblings over me, and I wanted to have dinner on my birthday with only them. They didn't take it well and threatened to send me to therapy. We ate in silence for a few minutes. I tried to tell them I won the season-long bracket, and they emphasized how much it was not a time to be bragging or doing anything except apologizing. They said my siblings are traumatized and in need of more support. They also accused me of believing my siblings aren't real, just because I wanted to have some time with my parents, where it wasn't about my siblings. After dinner, Layla said she thought it was a good idea and suggested we go out as a family, but pay attention to me in particular for the whole week. That sounds incredibly embarrassing, but amazing. I'd adore that, especially since I want to hang out with my sisters more anyway. Cassandra, though, pulled me aside and said that I had always been a spoiled a-hole, but that this was like a healthy man demanding stitches from a poorly stocked first aid kit because everyone else had them and he wanted to feel special. She said I should take a step back and realize that that was an awful thing to ask. I'm split between wanting to run away so my family doesn't have to deal with me and sinking into the comfort of self-pity. I just want my own parents, or my own siblings or somebody, to genuinely care about how I feel or be glad when I do something well. Not the a-hole. Trauma healing is not a poorly stocked first aid kit where supplies only go to those most in need. Requesting one birthday dinner with only your parents, so you guys can chat, is not a rude thing to ask. It's not like you were expecting every week or something, just one meal out of the whole year. You are allowed to feel ignored and want to be acknowledged at least sometimes. I mean, they're also allowed to say no, they can't make it happen, since they would be footing the bill, I assume. But I don't get that whole apologize for having feelings and needs reaction. Maybe take them up on the offer to go to therapy and tell your therapist you feel ignored and that you feel that your emotional needs for validation aren't being met. They could likely offer you quality advice about how to handle the situation, give you advice on things like what to say and how to tell your parents. Therapists can be an amazing resource to talk to about how to navigate social situations and how to effectively communicate your needs to others in a healthy way. Because yes, your siblings have needs, but your needs and feelings matter too. Everyone matters. There's no need for the trauma Olympics, because seriously, my parents were abusively neglectful and had 5 kids, but I still got only me time with each of my parents. It was rare, but like it was there. Not the a-hole. Your parents have a responsibility to care for the emotional needs of all of their children. They are failing at that, and in doing so, driving a wedge between you and your siblings. It happens in many kinds of families, even with all biological children, and it is a terrible situation to be in. Best I can say is to assume best intentions, that your parents are doing their best. Often that just isn't enough and causes problems.